For one brief moment this year, the Indian government tried to do something genuinely good for passengers. They said airlines must give 60% of seats for free. No more paying 300, 500 or 900 just to pick where you sit. No more families getting split up unless they pay extra. Just book your ticket and pick a seat, like it should be. For about 3 weeks it looked like it was actually going to happen, and then the airlines made one phone call and it was gone. Here's exactly what happened and what it tells you about who actually runs Indian aviation. Let's start from the beginning because most people miss the full story. Right now, when you book a flight in India, your base ticket gets you a random seat. If you want to actually choose where you sit, window, aisle, near the front, anywhere specific, you pay extra. Anywhere from 200 to over 2000 depending on the airline and the seat. Only about 20% of seats on any flight are currently available for free selection. The rest you pay for. The government looked at this and said that's not right. Seat selection shouldn't be a revenue line, it should be a basic part of buying a ticket. So on March 17, 2026, the DGCA put out a new rule. 60% of seats on every domestic flight must be free to select, and passengers on the same booking, families, couples, groups, must be seated together without being charged. It was supposed to go live on April 20th. It never did. Part 1. The rule. So what exactly did the government announce? The DGCA directive had a few clear paths. First, airlines had to make at least 60% of seats available for free selection at the time of booking. Not 24 hours before, not at check-in, right at the time of booking. Second, passengers on the same PNR, that's the same booking reference, had to be seated together. So if you booked 4 seats for your family, the airline couldn't split you across the cabin unless you paid to sit together. Third, the rule applied to all domestic flights across all airlines. On paper, this was a genuine win for passengers, especially families, especially people on budget fares who currently have to choose between paying 500 per seat or taking whatever random middle seat the system throws at them. The government even framed it as part of a broader passenger rights push alongside clearer rules on baggage, cancellations and delays. For about 3 weeks, it looked real. Part 2. The pushback. Then the Federation of Indian Airlines stepped in. The FIA, which represents IndiGo, Air India, SpiceJet and others, wrote a letter to the Civil Aviation Ministry and it was blunt. They said the rule was announced without consulting the airlines, that no stakeholder discussion had taken place before the press release went out, and that if this went ahead, airlines would be forced to raise base fares to recover the lost revenue. Their exact words, the financial impact of this directive on airlines will be significant, compelling airlines to recover the lost revenues through increase in fares. In other words, you want free seat selection? Fine, but your ticket price goes up to compensate. They also pointed to the timing. Fuel costs were already rising because of the West Asia conflict, pushing ATF prices up sharply. Airlines said this was the worst possible moment to cut into ancillary revenue. And they warned the government, if you do this for seat selection, what stops you from doing it for baggage fees, meal charges, everything else? It sets a precedent they were not willing to accept. Part 3. The reversal. On April 6, just 2 weeks before the rule was supposed to go live, the Ministry of Civil Aviation quietly put it on hold. No big announcement, no press conference, just a notice saying the directive was being kept in abeyance, which is the government's way of saying we are not doing this anymore, but we are not officially saying that we gave up either. The ministry said they needed more time for comprehensive review and stakeholder consultation. They said a revised framework would come maybe in the next 12 to 18 months. Consumer groups were furious. The Organization for Consumer Rights in India called it a capitulation to corporate interests. Travel associations predicted the delay would extend indefinitely. And for passengers, nothing changed. You still pay 200 to 2100 to pick your seat. Families still get split unless they pay. The 20% free seats standard is back in place. The rule that was supposed to protect you lasted exactly 20 days and only on paper. Part 4. The real question. Now here's where I want to be balanced, because this isn't as simple as airlines being greedy. The airlines have a real point about timing. ATF prices are genuinely up because of global fuel costs. IndiGo is already dealing with a CEO transition. The entire sector is under margin pressure. And the argument that cutting seat revenue forces base fares up, that's not wrong. Low-cost airlines are built on unbundling. The cheap base fare exists partly because they make money on the extras. But here's the other side. Seat selection fees in India are not small. They are not optional in any real sense. When you're traveling with your family and you don't pay, you might end up in 3 different rows. That's not a premium feature, that's a basic human expectation when you buy 4 tickets together. The government tried to fix that, the airline said no, and the government backed down. The bigger question isn't who won this round, it's what does this tell you about how passenger friendly Indian aviation actually is versus how passenger friendly it says it is. For now, nothing changes on your next booking. You still need to pay for seat selection if you want to pick where you sit. If you're traveling with family, either pay to sit together or arrive early at the airport and request it at the counter. Some airlines will accommodate this at check-in if seats are available. But watch this space. The government has said a revised policy is coming. Consumer groups are pushing, and with Willie Walsh, IndiGo's new CEO, publicly critical of India's aviation regulation in the past, the next round of this conversation is going to be interesting. The government announced a rule, the airlines pushed back, the government folded, and just in 20 days. Now I want to know what you think. Should seat selection be free as a basic right, or is the airline argument about higher base fares actually fair? Drop your answer in the comments, genuinely curious where you land on this one. Subscribe if you haven't already. New video every Thursday at 7 p.m. Like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.